Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. As you've probably all guessed, the religion that Donald Trump is bringing back to America is Luciferian. It is satanic. And your constitutional right to say that is supposed to transcend their desire to tell you that you can't. Pretty straightforward. So they're also bringing back, and it's here already, the Luciferian twist of the ideas in the Constitution in their true form. So let's look at Isaiah 25 and Isaiah 26. I'll summarize Isaiah 27 and 28 and 29 and 30 for you, and we'll wrap this up. So Isaiah 25, these chapters are short here. Lord, you are my God. I will exalt you and praise your name. For in perfect faithfulness you have done wonderful things, things planned long ago. You have made the city a heap of rubble, the fortified town a ruin, the foreigner's stronghold a city no more. It will never be rebuilt. Therefore strong peoples will honor you. The cities of ruthless nations will revere you. You have been a refuge for the poor, a refuge for the needy in their distress, a shelter from the storm and a shade from the heat. For the breath of the ruthless is like a storm driving against a wall, and like the heat of the desert. You silence the uproar of foreigners, as heat is reduced by the shadow of a cloud, so the song of the ruthless is still. On this mountain the Lord Almighty will prepare a feast of rich food for all peoples, a banquet of aged wine, the best of meats and the finest of wines. On this mountain he will destroy the shroud that enfolds all peoples, the sheet that covers all nations. He will swallow up death forever. The sovereign Lord will wipe away the tears from all faces. He will remove his people's disgrace from all the earth. The Lord has spoken. In that day they will say, surely this is our God. We trusted in him, and he saved us. This is the Lord. We trusted in him. Let us rejoice and be glad in his salvation. The hand of the Lord, the same hand which is against the military and the gang stalkers and law enforcement and the intelligence community and the governing class for interfering with this video. Okay, the hand of the Lord will rest on his mountain, but Moab will be trampled in their land as straw is trampled down in the manure. They will stretch out their hands in it as swimmers stretch out their hands to swim. God will bring them down, God will bring down their pride despite the cleverness of their hands. He will bring down your high fortified walls and lay them low. He will bring down to the ground, to the very dust. So in this chapter, it's Isaiah 25, it only has 12 verses. It talks about how what they rely on will come to ruin, right? Their fortified town. It says that God is a refuge for the righteous, okay? For those who are poor in spirit, in terms of they're rich in the spirit of God, but they're poor in terms of feeling like everyone is receiving them well, everyone's yoked to them or something, right? They're the few on the narrow path to life. And God is a shelter, right? He's the armor. He's a refuge, a fortress from the storm, including the storm of the Lord that breaks forth on the planet. The breath of the ruthless, the action, right? Spiritus in Latin means breath. The action of the ruthless. Their movements, their agenda, their ideas, what they find beautiful, their ways, their paths, is like a storm driving against a wall, and God is the wall protecting the souls of the righteous. And you see, I must now pronounce more curses against the military and against the people on duty right now and their families, because they are going against God. God hates them and their families to the extreme. Why? Because as I'm reading this scripture and trying to put things in a very calm and effective way, they're causing me to have brain pain by fuming me. And many of them play stupid about organized harassment, even though I have 23 witnesses on record. If I didn't have any witnesses on record, you could tell by the things I say that I'm right and that they're wrong. But I have 23 witnesses on record on top of that. So now I had to stop reading this. This is why I was right to pronounce the verdict earlier. It had nothing to do with today being Cinco de Mayo. I don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo. I have no intention to even stay outside of my house very long today. It has to do with them on behalf of their country, on behalf of white culture, Jewish culture, LGBT culture, persecuting me Bible says a prudent servant will rule over a disgraceful son. They were never the sons of God. It is just a story they wrote. But what is true here has to do with what they superimposed their story on. Is God a refuge for people who are righteous? Yes. Can you definitively prove and say with a straight face and look with someone in the eye and say that those people are Jews without looking like a propaganda idiot? No. Not even when you're hooked to a machine. You just look like a propaganda idiot hooked to a machine trying to play it off. Even now, after all these years and all these billions of dollars of artificial intelligence, they still cannot, in a convincing way, say that the Jews were God's chosen people or are what have you. Nor can they say that about the white man. The white Jews and LGBT people, they colonize the earth and they lay down the broad path to destruction in the most definitive way in modern history, at least. All across the world. Their culture, many of them bragging that the world's culture is Western. Pretty straightforward. Isaiah 26, a song of praise. In that day this song will be sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city. God makes salvation its walls and ramparts. Unlike these people, right, who are said to be trampled in their land, as straw is trampled down in the manure. Right, Moab stands for all the nations. When we get to Isaiah 34, well, we're not going to get to that in this video. So Isaiah 25, mere 9 chapters before, it says that this is the fate of all nations. It is individual righteous people, and after my flesh dies, that's it, that are protected by God. See, Moab is a play on words for M, meaning magic. Okay, like Ronald McDonald, writing the M. And the A for alpha, and Obi, or M-O-B was somebody lying. And Obi means King Hardhat Essence Center Temple Core, and this word goes back pretty far back in history. As far as we know, this word goes back thousands of years, back to Africa. As is the idea of chi, and that's a story for another day. And Kiro-Obi means black belt in Japanese, and so on. I go over this quite often. So it says they're going to be trampled. Okay, now the spirit is everything, the flesh means nothing. Does God care if you have a tan or if you're black naturally? No. Okay? What he's referring to is the spiritual state of people who go against God. And the spiritual state reflects where they're headed. You know, all of you listening to this right now are in states that are evil and pitiful. If you look in the mirror carefully, look in your eyes, you can see the propaganda, you can see the failure to be men. If you're male, you can see the failure to be females. If you're female, not to be a short beta nerd or something to see it. You see it. You can be the strongest person on the planet right now, and you would still see it in you. A crazed desire to act bad, if you're the strongest person, in the absence of actual moral worth. You don't have moral worth. Just a crazy desire to act bad. It's crazy. Madness. You're drunk off the blood of the saints and drunk with the ideas in which they stood against. Open the gate that the righteous nation may enter, the nation that keeps faith. Notice it doesn't say that Israel may enter. It says the righteous nation, the nation in the sense of a divine group of people, not a mere flesh-based people or a mere nation in this world. You will keep in perfect peace with those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you. Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord himself is the rock eternal. He humbles those who dwell on high. He lays the lofty city low. He levels it to the ground and casts it down to the dust. Feet trample it down, the feet of the oppressed, the footsteps of the poor. Now, who are the oppressed? If you're to look at it racially, are they whites, Jews, and LGBT? No. They are indigenous people who aren't white, Jew, or LGBT. When they become LGBT, they've given up their indigenous identity for the Western culture that's being impressed upon them. I use the example of, bear with me here. We're going to have to get into sex just a little bit. I hate getting into it, but it's such a great example. It needs to be said, so we're going to get into it. And there's things that talk about sex in the Bible as well. Even rape. So, when you look at this thing, if a guy had to give up oral sex, or else his wife is going to leave him with his family, who among you wouldn't say that's an idiot if he doesn't give it up? If he had to give up certain sexual positions, who among you would say that's an idiot? In fact, even if he had to give up sex, who among you wouldn't say that's an idiot if he doesn't give it up? How much more when someone is gay? If you love being gay more than God, my goodness, okay, they shouldn't have to ask you twice to give it up for God. My goodness. It's pretty straightforward. To even argue, these people stand firm in homosexuality, those that do. Some of them probably try to give it up, I don't know, but those that do, and there's so many of them, they stand firm and they say, no, they're not going to give that up no matter what. That is very sick. Some of them turn out kids on purpose. Some rape their cellmates in prison. Okay, it's very sick for them not to give that up for God Almighty. Okay, so that goes back to true identity. If you identify as a homosexual more than you identify as loyal to God, how could you then turn around and say that you deserve to go to heaven or that you're a child of God? Pretty straightforward. So again, feet trample down the feet of the oppressed, the footsteps of the poor. How many rich gays are in Hollywood and in the tech sector and so on and so forth? Their spirits are trampled, their souls are trampled by the righteous, who almost all of them historically were poor. The path of the righteous is level. You, the upright one, make the way of the righteous smooth. Now, did John the Baptist or Jesus on the cross have it easy? No. It's talking about where it matters most in a very profound way. Like, for example, right now, I just made these very powerful videos against the country that I'm in, against the military. People who look like they're in the military and the police just drove by in like trucks right now. And I feel calm. I feel a certain joy. I'm very proud of my timeline. Before, I've been making videos for over 10 years. It's been 16 years. Before it got to this point, I used to cite the timeline long ago. I used to say I have a couple channels, back when I only had 2 or 3 channels. I used to talk about how I've made many videos. When I got to the first 1,000 or 2,000 videos, I would talk about that with a certain divine pride. Proud that I'm exposing the evil in the world. Proud to tell the truth about God. What have you? Egypt. Martial arts. Now it's been 16 years. Countless brain pains as they fume me and poison me, as they try to pretend it's brain seizures or some rare disease or condition. They try to pretend it's just in my head, it's delusion. As they look at their list and say, what can we pretend it is? When I have 23 witnesses to these things, including the fumes, which clearly bring about brain pain. Think about people who smoke cigarettes, who have a headache from smoking cigarettes or drinking, a bad hangover, or a bad batch of marijuana, or drugs, or whatever. You think fumes don't cause brain pains? You think being fumed for years and years wouldn't cause any effect on the brain? You're crazy if you think that. Pretty straightforward. Yes, Lord, walking in the way of your laws or judgments, we wait for your name and renown and the desire of our hearts. My soul yearns for you in the night. In the morning my spirit longs for you. When your judgments come upon the earth, the people of the world learn righteousness. I long for God more than Romeo longed for Juliet in the story. I long for God more than I long for a relationship with a female. It starts with God, and then that love can be turned into a romantic love when it comes to dealing with a female, a woman. People are not longing for God that way. And that is define them as beasts, as animals like the Romans in the story that slap Christ and spit on. Why would they do these things? Put a crown of thorns in a cake. Why would they mock God? What kind of animal? You see in the movies when a female's being raped in a movie or they're trying to rape her, he says, get away from me, you animal. What kind of sexually immoral dogs? Can't think past their devil dicks. How outrageous is that? And some people would, try to mock what I just said, try to make it sound funny. There's many videos I've made that people are far too immature to hear. If you're too immature to hear things like that, then don't watch my videos. Stop disgracing yourself and your families. Okay. But when grace is shown, so again, let's go back here. My soul yearns for you in the night and the morning, and in the morning my spirit longs for you. When your judgments come upon the earth, the people of the world learn righteousness. But when grace is shown to the wicked, they do not learn righteousness. Even in a land of uprightness, they go on doing evil and do not regard the majesty of the Lord. So when I gave the judgment against the military, it made me sad because I know some of them They think of themselves as well-meaning to some degree. Probably not to a large degree these days, but to some degree. They often try to use their families as an excuse, and Matthew 10 warns you about that. So it was sad. You can kind of hear it in my voice. People might mistake it for being afraid or something, but I felt some kind of way about having the spectrum of people in the military. So there was some kind of regret. You might even almost call it guilt, but it's not the same as guilt. I knew that I'm right to give that judgment. I knew they're doing the wrong thing. There's a spectrum of people that go to hell. Some of them seem more innocent than others. As they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Who, what, when, where, how, why. Anyway, let's wrap this up here. So the wicked do not learn from their mistakes. And when you give them grace, if I gave them a pass, they don't learn. They just keep being evil. And now is not the time for that. We're in Matthew 25, separating the sheep and the goats. The sun is said to turn black like sackcloth made of goat hair. Instead of seeing a certain grace from me, a certain mercy and etc. The time for mercy is over. The throne has already been established with that mercy. Now you're seeing me showing myself shrewd to the devious. God showing himself shrewd to the devious. Lord, your hand is lifted high, but they do not see it. Let them see your zeal for your people and be put to shame. Let the fire reserved for your enemies consume them. So notice the hand of God is lifted high against the rebels, including the military, including the government, including Donald Trump and his family. And I urge them to scramble to do the right thing. You shouldn't be mad at me for pointing that out. You should be mad at me if I didn't point it out. You should be mad at everyone around you for not encouraging you to do the right thing. Let them see your zeal for your people and be put to shame. Let the fire reserved for your enemies consume them. Lord, you establish peace for us. All that we have accomplished you have done for us. Lord our God, other lords besides you have ruled over us, but your name alone do we honor. So someone pointed out just now that they think that I should also point out that God is against all the nations of the world. And even though they interrupted me, because I'm so fair, I'm so just, I don't, take more offense than I should. I look at the thing as what's fair. They're actually right to say that I should point that out. They're wrong to interrupt me. But I'm going to go ahead and say that, yes, God is also, his hand is lifted high against all the peoples and all the nations of the world. Everyone cheated me out of my right to lead. They are now dead, they live no more, their spirits do not rise. You punished them and brought them to ruin. You wiped out all memory of them. You have enlarged the nation, Lord. You have enlarged the nation. You have gained glory for yourself. You have extended all the borders of the land. Right? The nation of Israel with God. Right? With the nations that's in the sky. It's in the heavens, rather. In the spiritual realm, what the sky is symbolizing. When in its natural form, what have you. You have extended all the borders of the land, Lord. They came to you in their distress. When you disciplined them, they could barely whisper a prayer. We were with child, we writhed in labor, but we gave birth to wind. We have not brought salvation to the earth, and the people of the world have not come to life. And again, there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. Okay, just like the soul is greater than the flesh, the idea of the spirit of the earth is greater than the flesh of the earth, and the contamination that has come to be the spirit of the earth from below. The spirit, just like there's a Jerusalem with God, there's a Jerusalem in this world, right? Just like there's an earth with God and there's a heaven with God, there's an earth and heaven associated with this world and the rebels. See Galatians 4 if you have any questions about that. It should shine some light on that. Okay. So again, we were with child, we writhed in labor, but we gave birth to wind. We have not brought salvation to the earth, and the people of the world have not come to life. But your dead will live, Lord. Their bodies will rise. Let those who dwell in the dust wake up and shout for joy. Your dew is like the dew of the morning. The earth will give birth to her dead. Go, my people, enter your rooms and shut the doors behind you. Hide yourselves for a little while until his wrath has passed by. See, the Lord is coming out of his dwelling to punish the people of the earth for their sins. The earth will disclose the blood shed on it. The earth will conceal its slain no longer. Now, as we get into the Isaiah 27, 28, 29, 30, it says that God has one who's powerful and strong, who's part of the process of this, who's given credit by the author for throwing the rebels to the ground, for trampling them, for bringing about a figurative hailstorm and a flooding downpour and a destructive wind. Okay? And that's me. So God comes out of his dwelling to punish the people of the earth for their sins. This transcends propaganda. And anyone who feels the need to kind of save face in this country. Even if this country was to be disintegrated, if I said these things on the spot, they should still not want to interfere. How much more when they're just going to keep their propaganda game going after my flesh dies? And that goes for every nation on the planet. So really quickly, let's summarize Isaiah 27 through Isaiah 30, and let's wrap this up here. So in Isaiah 27, God punishes Satan, who's referred to as Leviathan. It is and isn't a separate spirit from Satan. The monster of the sea, and it turns to blood. Okay, this connects to Revelation when the sea and the waters turn to blood. Okay, the rivers, the springs of water, the sea. They do not effectively come into the devil's spirit anymore, even though that doesn't really help them. They're just kind of trash and waste. My waste is a play on words for waste set. And set, Satan is a play on words for set in, going into the world. With no resurrection they don't have a resurrection leading to life. Through martial spiritual warfare, those who obey God through me atone for their sin, and they are brought out of the spirit of Assyria and Egypt and Babylon, etc. So Isaiah 27, is explaining that. And if you read it, you'll see that that's what it's saying. Isaiah 28, God created me to be a powerful and strong force, like a hailstorm and a destructive wind, like a driving rain and a flooding downpour. I will throw the pride of Ephraim forcefully to the ground, and all the inhabitants of the earth to the ground. God is my source of strength as I sit in judgment and turn back the battle at the gate. The rebels are drunk with the blood of the saints, leading people to rebellion and madness. They fall backwards and are injured and snared and captured. That part's important. They're snared and captured. Their ways have captured them. Their folly has captured them. Those who lead them astray have captured them. They took the cheese in the trap, and they were snared and injured. The scoffers who rule in Jerusalem of this world argue and boast that they have made a covenant with death, and they made a lie their refuge, and falsehood their hiding place. And their covenant with death and the spirits of darkness do not really protect them. I am the justice. I am the cornerstone. I am the sure foundation, the top martial artist ever possible, the way, the truth, and the life, and justice is the measuring line, and righteousness the plume line. Rebelling against me causes the hailstorm to sweep them away, and their refuge, the lie, is overthrown by God's Spirit through me, which is the spirit of justice and righteousness. Their main lie is that they think that they can do it without me, whether or not they know that I'm here, whether or not they know how to find me. They're living the lie of thinking that they could lead themselves or follow the churches or the Pope or whatever. Okay. So they don't really understand what's going on, but they feel a certain terror on some level, and their mind is trying to slip into denial and things like that to cope with it. They're using psychology, what have you. Mocking will make their chains heavier. Those who were righteous are the good soil in the parable of the sower, and they will produce a good crop of souls going to heaven. Destruction is decreed for the whole land, the whole earth, and a new heaven will be elsewhere. In Isaiah 30, Ariel, right? One can look at it as the people of God, one can look at it as females. It's not supposed to... This explanation, Isaiah 30, isn't about them persecuting me, in a sense, except for in Revelation 20. It's about them persecuting people who are rallying to me, or the spirits of people who are already right with God, which they're not really able to get at. So then God is described as a whirlwind. He's described as a powerful fire, powerful force, what have you, all throughout the Bible. Isaiah 30 is no exception. And he rescues the righteous. Thank you.